Spaces dropped on a new week of soccer down here. Soccer's morning show. John, here, are you there? And there's a lot to talk about. The bottom line is there's a lot to talk about. This, Jared. I guess we're officially in a no dilly, no dally zone on Monday because of everything that there is to talk about.
I mean, I figure there's plenty to talk about, so why not just do it? Where do you want to begin? Because I got a place to begin, but I don't know where.
Well, since it is the beginning of the show, that means that it is time for opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Since we are officially in a no dilly, no dally zone, once again, remember, Kickoff Coffee, use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% rolled over into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So since Jared has said he has a starting point, Jared, your starting point.
I don't know what exactly Major League Soccer intended to advertise with MLS Next Pro. I don't know. How much they actually expected to be broadcast quality for putting on Apple TV Plus occasionally, with some games, the rest of it being on YouTube. It's understandable. Right. That's the year 2023, however, and production costs are not as intense as they were even 5-10 years ago. Which leads me to question how the hell that MLS has decided that MLS Next Pro can continuously suffer from such poor production quality. And I understand that apparently they don't. It is a thing of believe people when they show you who they are, and what they have shown us is they don't care about MLS Next Pro's production quality. You want people to tune in, make it at least watchable. And I get that your mileage may vary based on location from where you are watching. Yeah. Different places have different production quality, but some of the games we have seen have just been, frankly, hard to watch.
Yeah.
If you have tied this product, and I get that it might not be a first-team product. I completely understand that. But, my God.
Yeah.
The least you could do is make it somewhat watchable, because right now it's kind of tough. And don't tell people you want them to tune in and watch the future players if you're not going to give them a product to watch that is worth a damn, because that's right now where you're at. And it's embarrassing. It wouldn't be as embarrassing if, you didn't build it up to be something bigger, but I am perplexed at just the absolute lack of quality with MLS Next Pro. And again, you believe people when they show you who they are. And right now, MLS Next Pro is showing you that, man, they don't really care about the product. The MLS doesn't care about how it's being put on TV, because Jesus, it's bad, and it shouldn't be, because these are the guys who you're expecting to watch down the road. Make it easier to watch, for God's sakes. I shouldn't have to. It shouldn't be a point where you're begging them to make a product that looks better than what you can see. John, we go to plenty of high schools around the state for various reasons. Be it us going to do soccer matches. Be it you going for football every fall,
or even talking to communication classes.
Yes, and you're seeing production qualities that are lacking compared to what high school classes can put together, and that's inexcusable in the year of our Lord 2023.
Yeah, and it's disappointing, and there is no current unified standard when it comes to what you're watching. It appears, for the most part, that it's going to be one camera shoot. And it is operator dependent when it comes to what you are going to be watching, and you are hoping for some kind of just some kind of idea as to what you're hoping for when it comes to this. And you would, I mean, I have so many thoughts swimming in my head about this, and I'm trying to unify them into one path. And it is profoundly disappointing. And you want this product to be something where you can sit there and say, okay, I've seen so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, and I'm looking forward to them at the next level for my team. But because the production quality is so all over the place, and I guess that's the phrase that I'll use, it's hard to assimilate information and understand what's going on in a lot of places. What I'm hoping for is that because we are only a couple of weeks in, much like our discussions with the product about Major League Soccer and what we're seeing with Apple, because Apple, and we've had this discussion too about Season Pass, where Season Pass came in, they had something, they noticed that they needed to tweak it, and it has been tweaked. And you still can sit there and look at, what you're staring at with the first teams and their unified product. And you hope that once again that every single week you're hoping for advancement, you're hoping for tweaking, and you're hoping for something that both the league and the broadcast partner will be proud of when it comes to MLS and the first teams. I'm hoping that after the first couple of weeks, because I remember, and looking at the standings. I mean, right now you've had teams that have only played twice. You've had some teams that have played 4 times. So I will say that I agree with you completely. It's disappointing. And you're hoping that there will be advancement over time. Right now, it's you want that unified product. You want to sit there and have a certain production standard when it comes to what we're seeing with Next Pro. But once again, work in progress. You hope that they learn. You hope they're getting feedback. You're hoping that things continue to grow and evolve. But as of right now, it's very, very difficult it's very, very difficult. It's difficult for a journalist to assimilate information. And if it's difficult for a journalist to get information, what is it for the fans of these teams that are interested in these second teams? And that's where we are right now. And once again, you're hoping that teams that have only had one home match, that have played twice, that have only, that you've had a couple of teams and a couple of chances, that it is, that's something that is going to continue to grow. But, it is a difficult watch at times, and it is a difficult, it's something, it is something that you hope will evolve over time. So that's where we are. And Jarrett, Ricky is in the Twitch pitch this morning, and Ricky is like he was hoping that this rant. He said, "I was hoping for this rant."
It's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that you want it to be. Don't tell me what you want it to be, and for it to be not good enough. I mean, not okay. It's been bad. To answer everyone's question, because y'all going off on the Twitch pitch about Rometty. Last time I checked, Rometty's back at Bonfield. He's not with the Quakes anymore.
Oh, it was clarified. It was the Ibarra red.
Okay.
So,
okay. Yeah. We can go over that too.
That's
entire game to go over.
That's where we are. I mean, what is on everyone's mind, and it is the Ibarra red. It is Drew Fisher, who, by the way, is the spitting image of Bob Davie. I'm sorry. So that's your Google search for today, kids. Wow. The former Notre Dame coach and New Mexico coach, Bob Davie, spitting image doppelganger of Drew Fisher. We've got that to talk about, and Gonzalo Pineda did talk about it, and I've got the quote. And since we're there, I guess since that is topic number 2, I guess I need to close up opening kickoff. But yeah, opening kickoff would get an N in your report card right now. Needs improvement. It is not satisfactory. It needs improvement. And then some, it might be an N/U, depending on which production team you're looking at. But that's your opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use the code soccer down here 15, and thanks to everyone who has so far. You get 15% off of your purchase. They in turn take 10%. Reinvest in the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Okay, the match in New York. And I've
seen many matches, and that was one of them.
Yes, that is absolutely true. All right, the Ibarra red, quoting Gonzalo Pineda, and this was after the match, so things obviously may have changed. In Sunday coming into Monday. This is what Gonzalo Pineda said. I haven't seen that one. Once again, this is directly after the match. I saw the tackle on Brad Gazan and just believe that it is unbelievable that it was not even a yellow card. To me, it was a bad call. It was the second time in a row that they went against Brad that way. I need to take care of my players because the referees are not doing that with my players, but with the others, they are. And that was the beginning of that was the middle point of a very heated and pointed conversation in the Q&A. But he had not seen at the time when he was asked about it, he had not seen the Ibarra red. But Jarrett, to your point and a point a lot of other folks have made, the iniquity with which Drew Fisher had cards in the match was definitely something that was a talking point, and it was definitely a talking point for Gonzalo Pineda. The Ibarra red, when you looked at it, what was going through your mind?
It was weird because in the moment it's so fast, and the replay. I think the replay, when you see it, it is more, say, forgiving of the decision. Like when it's a tricky one because like we've seen cards like that go forward against Atlanta, and it happens where two guys go for a ball. Whoever wins the joust is probably going to get kicked, and whoever loses the joust is going to be in a position where they get sent off. It's unfortunate, but I mean by the letter of the law, like it's right because it's studs into the leg.
Yeah.
You want to know who's really angry about it, by the way, and we'll get back to it in a second. Is Sporting Kansas City, who had Alan Polito get stepped on in an even more egregious manner, and it wasn't given anything at all. It wasn't even sent to VAR to get looked at because I think Rubin's Rubin who like put cleats into his leg, and that man went on to score the game-winning goal.
Yeah.
So Kansas City, who still can't score goals, even more upset than we are in Atlanta.
Yes.
But it is, I mean, yeah, by the fact that, it's one of those where Abato takes a little bit of a loose touch. He's chasing it down. He's going to go, I think he's trying to put his foot on top of the ball to bring it to a stop.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere comes James Sands, and Sands just beats him to it. And, just basically tries to put it into row H. And in the process of doing so, his leg replaces the ball, and it's a fast-paced situation. But it studs to the leg. So by the letter of the law, I mean, I did not like it when I first saw it, and then you look at the replays again and again and again. You're like, okay, it's fine. That call itself I thought it was more egregious at first. Looking at the replay, you hate to see it go your way, but I think you would want it to go your way if the shoe's on the other foot. And it does fit the letter of the law.
Yeah.
My beef with Fisher more so was the fact that we've talked about this before, and I won't hound on this for too long because there's more things to talk about in the game than officials.
Dude, we got all week to talk about things. I know, don't worry about hounding.
But don't move the line so egregiously. In the first 44 minutes or so, it is damn near no blood, no foul. You're not giving cards. And then the first card goes to Giacomakis with where he's sliding in. He pulls out of the challenge, which hell, maybe man with Fisher, I don't know. Maybe that's what keeps it from being a red in his mind. The way Giacomakis pulls out of the challenge, but he pulls out of the challenge, then he's given a yellow, and it's kind of like that's kind of the signals that the whole damn line is moved for what constitutes a card. Because then it just kind of if you're going to call it tight, call it tight. If you're going to call it loose, call it loose. Don't change the line halfway through the game because that's where guys get pissed. Yeah. That's where guys get sloppy. That's where things get chippy.
Well, and honestly, this goes back to the collision on Brad and how basically you have a player just trying to figure out how he was going to navigate the 7-10 split and said to hell with it. And you don't get a card for clattering into a goalie, period. No card, no nothing. And I think that sets you up out of the blocks for, it's going to be one of those matches. How that wasn't a card when you plow into a goalie and get nothing out of it, that was the one for me that kind of set the tone for the whole evening. And you're going, okay, all right, so that's what we're going to be staring at. Here is the quote once again from Gonzalo Pineda after the match. Once again, this is after the match when he was asked.
Parzival, he might get a fine, and I don't think Pineda cares anymore.
No. If he gets an envelope, I don't think he cares.
He's been very coy about it at times, in kind of like a fun way.
Yeah,
but I don't think he cares at this point.
No.
I think he is very much like, we've been playing funny. We've been playing like happy fun times with it, but I think those times are done because it's the second time Brad's taken a really rough bit of contact, and we're used to Brad dishing those out, not receiving them.
Yep. So here's the quote. I'm very upset with the way Drew carried on with the game. It was the second time that they, meaning NYCFC, went at the knee of Brad Gazan without a punishment. I'm very upset with that, and I told him that, meaning Drew Fisher. Again, we need to earn respect from the referees and the league. We need to win more games, and we need to win more trophies because we don't have the respect. I'm very, very upset with the way they, meaning the referees, managed the game. The 10 minutes was not accurate, meaning the second after the second 45, 10 minutes of stoppage. The yellow card on Yorgis Giacomakis, I think, compared to the tackle on Brad is nothing. I'm very upset with that. It's those little things when you play away against a very good team and a very good coach is not easy. I'm very happy with the effort, with the passion that my team showed today. We need more performances like this to earn more respect from the referees. And then after the match, for those of you who are watching on Apple, you noticed that Gonzalo was having a conversation with Drew Fisher directly. Quote.
Yeah, he looked like he was dressed like he was about to try to convince him to get on a plane to go to Spain.
Uh-huh.
Looked like the end of Casablanca.
Yep. So on the conversation with Drew Fisher, here's what Gonzalo said. Quote, just talked about specific situations that I disagree on. If that is a fine, then it is welcomed. They, meaning the referees, always respond the same way. They are always right. It's what they always say. I went very respectfully and said he is always right. This is the answer that you always get when you complain about certain calls, and that is the frustration we have. It is never, yes, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. I just don't think it was 10 minutes. If that is 10 minutes, then there have been many times where we are chasing a result, and they, meaning the referees, give 3 or 4 minutes. It's not about one call or the other. It's about the consistency of their calls. They are very specific about wasting time, which, by the way, we were not wasting time. We were always trying to play quickly. We got punished at that moment when we had 10 men on the field, end quote. I don't think Gonzalo gives a roaring left foot if he gets an overnight envelope from the league office explaining that he needs to Venmo X amount of dollars to the league fund. I don't think he cares. I don't think he gives one royal rat about getting a fine after what happened in the Bronx.
Nah, he'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Make a donation to some league affiliated charity. Just call it a day.
Yeah. But yeah, Parzival, I think he's going to get an envelope. And,
yeah, probably.
And I mean, you're protecting your players. Once again, the iniquity of the calls, the inequality, iniquity, whatever the word is. But just when you get that tone set early on, you plow into a goalie, nothing happens. Then you get the Giacomakis card, and you're going, okay, that's unique. And, Alex, in looking at the Ibarra call, Ibarra left his foot in a bad place, always going to be risky. Sand swung through wildly, which exponentially increased the danger of the poorly positioned foot. Red all day, but they've been overlooked before. So, yeah, there's a lot to, and Parzival.
If y'all want to get specific, I was as upset, if not more upset. The one that got me was the Chanot, was the Chanot tackle, because it's from behind. There's scissor action where he uses his feet to lock up Giacomakis and keeps him from getting up.
Yeah.
And then goes and stands over, and I mean, he gets a yellow for it, but I mean, if you had already kind of set this really interesting line. I was more annoyed by that one just because when you scissor a guy like that and you've locked his leg up with your ankles, if he tries to get up quickly, the potential is there for damage.
Mm-hmm.
I was more annoyed by that one. I mean, and Chanot gets a yellow for it, so it's not like it wasn't punished. But I was more annoyed by that tackle than a lot of the other things that happened in that game.
Yeah, and if
at least you got out of there with a point, though,
yeah, and Parzival with the point. I can't wait to watch the pro exploration on YouTube this week.
Actually, and I agree. Like, I want to see, I want to see what they say.
I want to see if it's first and foremost in the video, because there are so many elements from this match. Literally, you could have your own video of this match because of Brad, because of Ibarra, because of Chanot.
Well, unless those didn't go to the monitor, so they won't be in the video. However, I do want to see how they worked through it's the same thing last year when you had the no called penalty in Miami.
Yeah.
If for no other reason, I want to see the discussion process. Not even like I'm not even trying to approach this in the sense that I want to see them, fail to explain this. So I want to see what their discussion process was.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I don't know, man. I'm not even going in it in the sense of I want to see them punished or this, that, and the other. I want to see, how that discussion happened in the moment on the monitor.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and Bart has already mentioned that he has a theory. And when Bart comes on Wednesday, we will discuss said theory. And I know that we got the Liverpool moment that we've got to get into as well. So, Bart, you've got that.
Bart's busy on the being an official front.
Yeah, Bart is going to be very, very busy when he comes in for his segment on Wednesday, where we've got all of this stuff to talk about. Consistency is probably going to be the topic in the umbrella where it's discussed. Getting into the no good, very bad week that Pro is having, or weekend even. Because you mentioned Kansas City. We've got everything we saw with Atlanta. We've got the incident at Liverpool with a raised elbow and a player once again confronting an official. So, and Mallory Swanson. We've got to get into that with Bart as well.
That game was they were throwing haymakers in that game.
Yeah, they were. And Bart has already said he will not be discussing anything about a Liverpool match from the weekend. I'm not talking about the match, Bart. I'm not talking
about the match. I'm talking about officials throwing forearm shivers. Bud.
Yes, yeah. That we're talking about clearing out and making sure that personal space is not affected. That's what we're talking about. We're not discussing a 2-2 draw where the margins for the Gunners have closed slightly, and a match is upcoming in very short order among the number 1 and number 2 teams in the league. In the Prem. Yeah, that is not what we will be discussing when Bart comes on Wednesday. We will be discussing the element of the violation of personal space, and I legitimately cannot believe that I'm agreeing with the hosts over at TalkSport, and one of them actually saying that both the player and the ref need to be disciplined in some way. Not just saying that, hey, the ref raised an elbow, but actually talking about Jordan Henderson. So, yeah. So there's going to be a lot to. Whew.
What was it, Roy Keane that said? Roy Keane called him a baby.
Yeah. Well, that's Roy Keane for
God. Yeah. Roy Keane was not suffering fools. It's like, yeah, the ref messed up. Like, don't be a baby.
Yeah. So you got that. And,
Roy Keane did Roy Keane things. Film at 11.
Yes. Yeah. Angry Roy Keane. What a surprise. So you've got Mallory Swanson and all of that impact as well. It's a patella tendon tear. It is not just a dislocated patella. And yeah, David, the Spurs and the handball reversal and a clear penalty. So, yeah, Bart's going to have a very, very busy Wednesday segment. And so all of this stuff leading up to it is going to be there. But going to the Bronx traditionally, Jarrett, is always tough. It literally is, as the T-shirt says, it is like bumblebees in a washer dryer. Fighter jets in a washer dryer, whatever our T-shirt says. That's what you're staring at when you go to the Bronx. It's fighter jets and a washer dryer, and it is a different thing. And I mean, when we talked with Jason on Weekend Whip Around on Friday, he reminded us that it's not just the width; it is the length and the width. And so basically, you're playing on a place that is like 25% smaller than everything else, and it is like a pinball machine from hell, and you're exhausted after 90 minutes in that place. And so when you're swapping out dudes at 60 minutes, it's because they've been busting their ass for 60 minutes and on a pitch of 25% less. And so the fight that Atlanta United had in that match against a team in New York City, Gonzalo Pineda says he's not angry about the result. Felt like we had better chances, more XG per chance. Either way, it may be justified because NYCFC also had important chances, same way that we had chances. It is a result that is fair, is what Gonzalo Pineda says. He's annoyed at the way the refs managed the game. We talked about those quotes. It's been many times it's gone against us this season, but it is a result that is fair. That is what Gonzalo Pineda took away from this match.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, you're playing in a bandbox of a stadium where you go look at the goal New York City scores. It's coming off the kickoff. The field's so small, maybe that ball is further out wide on a normal-sized field. You'll never convince me that field is regulation. You'll never convince me. It's just it's so small that every mistake, no matter where it is on the field, is a threatening one.
Mm-hmm.
And every ball is a threatening one because of how small it is. And that's not to take away from the goal for New York City, because it's a damn good goal.
Yeah, it was.
And the fight that you had from Atlanta, we talked about this before after the Red Bulls game. Man, the last two games, Atlanta has showed you they got some fight in them.
But to the point that once again that Jason made on Whip Around is the playing Red Bulls, the match before you play NYC, probably helped you out because you got adjusted to playing in short spaces and against odd man pressure and things like that. And so one probably helped you with the other. And Alex Pacine, the goal that was conceded was so weird. When he shoots, there are four defenders standing in a single file line, everyone on the trailing side. But once again, Alex, that creates a bit of a screen for you. And, with Brad being what it was, I can understand why Brad was late in reacting because it was being shot from around the screen. So I get that completely. So let me answer the question that was brought up, and I'll get Jarrett's perspective on this too. Burned. Question from Burned. What's the etiquette for cameramen and producers to show close-ups of a dislocated knee? It seems wrong. It literally, Burned. It depends. It's literally producer by producer and network by network. There are protocols internally where they sit there and they have this notion in their head that it's okay to show X or it's okay to show whatever it is for how long and different angles and things like that. Literally, it is a network by network thing. But if you are an experienced producer, for me, and like I said, when Jarrett comes back, and he'll be right back. From my perspective on this, and let me know what you're thinking about this as well. For me, it's one live, maybe a replay, and then pulling out of the replay early, and then not showing any more close-ups. Obviously, you're showing it live, and if there's, there was the one still photo that came where it looked like Swanson's knee was completely and totally caved in, and I was like, yeah, that's not something that I want to see. What I would be doing in that case is showing a wider shot than normal, not emphasized on the actual, the actual injury. So probably as I am, if I was producing, because I'm the same way when it comes to when you've had an emotional loss, and especially the younger the player, showing a little context. If it's a gut-wrenching loss and there was, one player that was the direct or somewhat indirect cause of the change in emotion that created the loss, showing close-ups of players who've lost something emotional. Then especially the younger you get in these games. Pros, I know that they can handle it, but I'm still not showing them that as much. Maybe it's like one or two shots and then going to celebration, not focusing on a negative. That is strictly a producer choice, and that is also something that high-powered networks, they'll sit there and say, yeah, that's okay. Keep showing those kinds of things. It's a philosophy, and it literally is network by network, and it's also producer by producer. In the Mal Swanson case, for me, as I'm processing it, what I would do is obviously you're showing the injury in real time. Then from there, maybe a replay, but not the closest replay. Because if you're in the production truck, you've got probably 10 looks, 4 of them good. And Jarrett, question from Bernd, and I'm walking through TV production. He wanted to know etiquette for cameramen and producers for showing close-ups of a dislocated knee, and it seems wrong. And I'm basically laying out how I would be processing it from the production truck if I was watching it live. Obviously, my sensibilities are different than a lot of other folks. I would process it with obviously the live action, a replay. If you're looking at the other monitors in the truck and you've got somebody who's close up on it and you're like, okay, that's ugly, I'm not taking that shot, perhaps taking shots that are wider in this case because of the one still that was out there where it looked like her knee was caved in completely. And I'm like, all right, I might show one replay. It won't be from close up. And my going back to live action out of that replay, I'm not going to have the tightest shots because of what I think is wrong in this case. How, when you have dealt with stuff as a producer or as a videographer, what has it been in those kinds of cases for you, and what have you experienced? And I guess how would you call, if you were in the truck, how would you call the Mal Swanson punching of shots with the action that happened?
I mean, it's tough because you might not be able to see it clearly at first, and somebody might tell you, hey, I've got a good look at this. And your first instinct is, okay, we need to look at what's going on. But yeah, man, it gets really tricky really quickly because to your point, like you end up, what you end up with is you end up with, showing footage of somebody who's absolutely wrecked. And I think the general public consensus is pretty accurate on this because anytime you see something like this happen, go back to let's take it back to a couple of years ago. The Kevin Ware leg break in March Madness. God, when was that? Like 2011, give or take.
Uh-huh.
Fun fact: he ended up at Georgia State the last year of his career. You saw it pretty clean on the live shot. If you slowed it down, 2013. But you don't need to keep showing it.
Yeah.
If people want to find it, they can go online and find it. If it's for broadcast, I am in the camp of I'm not showing somebody blasting their knee into oblivion on the broadcast if I can help it.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of doing that personally. Again, people are different. They have different opinions on how you should do these things. That is me. I do not like showing somebody's knee getting absolutely blasted into the nether realm.
Mm-hmm. Byrne says they also stayed on Swanson's face while they were checking out her neck after the first collision. There was clearly some weird producing going on.
Yeah, it's like you do this thing where you want to stay on her. It's like you want to stay on her face to show like how she's reacting. That's a whole, man, that could be a whole different conversation, by the way,
Yeah.
because if you want to get into like woulda, coulda, shoulda,
Mhm.
maybe you don't put her back on the damn field in a friendly after she's had a check for a concussion.
Yeah.
Just a freaking thought, man.
Yeah.
Just you know what? Just a thought.
Mhm.
Maybe you just don't put her back on the field.
Yeah. Burns says the producers didn't know what they were doing. The other players were shielding her, so fans couldn't see it, and these idiots zoomed in on TV.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. I can tell you that sometimes if you're in queue, like if your camera is not hot,
Mm-hmm.
there have absolutely been times like where and because I look, not everybody's the same way I am. I'm not bothered by medical things like that sort of thing. I would not want it to be broadcast. If my camera's in queue though, I've absolutely been before like wanting to take a look like, hey, how bad is this? Because you're not taking my camera,
Right.
so I'm not going to feel as bad about about using my camera in queue, not on broadcast, trying to get an idea of how bad something might or might not be. That is a different animal than looking, on the broadcast shot. And you don't want to just do it incredulously in the name of like, invading someone's privacy as they're laying on the field hurt, but you're not going to stick on it. But yeah, like, there's times where you're like, why are they down? And there's a difference between, because fans will do that too. There's a reason people look these things up, because they want to get an idea of, hey, how, like, was that actually a bad injury? Was it not? And they want to know. They want to know what they should be nervous about. Should they be, is this something I should be worried that, so and so is going to be out for an extended period of time? Because damn, it certainly seems like it right now.
Yeah. David broke his leg in 3 places playing soccer. As very squeamish about this. As a result, no need to show replays. Let the announcer talk about the area of concern, but move along for goodness sake.
Yeah. Like I said, it's that difference between, like, sometimes you want to get an idea of what happened versus, versus knowing, like, is it going to be something that's just incredibly bad and incredibly, man, I don't know how else to describe it. It's, I think I'm still very also mad that, like, yeah, guess what we didn't have to do, guys? We didn't have to, like, have her go back out there on on after a concussion sub.
Yeah. Well,
like, she was already had been out of the game for concussion reasons.
Right. Bart and Ricky are going. They're having conversations with you and each other. Bart says that Bart disagrees with you. Passed the test, was good to go, and she seemed to want to come back in. The injuries are mutually exclusive, and had she come off, then it would have been Rodman with a patella tendon tear. We don't know about the Rodman part, but taking all the other stuff, Bart says she passed the test, was good to go, seemed to want to come back in. So
yeah, I get it. No, I get it, and I get where Bart's coming from with it. I'm just, my whole thing with it is that if I get there's separate injuries, but
yeah.
If for no other reason, like, it's a friendly. Once I know she had passed the test, I still probably would have, and I mean, I still probably would have subbed her out, just like, hey, I know you passed the test.
Yeah.
It's a friendly, and I don't want to risk anything for the World Cup because you've been the best player in an American shirt.
Right.
So but yeah, I mean, to Bart's point, like, they're separate injuries. You can't predict the future.
No.
And it is very much me doing hindsight is 2020 things.
Right.
So,
well,
I'm very aware of that part.
And for me specifically, I guess because I've been in television for 75 years. I mean, when the DeMont Network and I came in at the same time.
And also, you never have to apologize for disagreeing with me, Bart. We're cool, man.
Yeah.
It's all good.
The way that I've always, and my sensibilities, I admit my sensibilities have changed over time. And I'm the kind of person that I don't want to see faces during serious injuries, especially of the athlete that has been affected. I don't want to show injuries over and over again, like the old Saturday Night Live sketch when when Buckwheat was assassinated by Eddie Murphy. So Doc, the Ted Koppel on Nightline. So Doc, have you seen the video of when Buckwheat was shot? No, I haven't, Ted. And then you show it again. I don't like close-ups. I don't like emotional close-ups, especially in tight games, especially, say, if there was, a particular athlete that may have been responsible for the loss. I don't like those kind of close-ups. Give me the celebrations, maybe the one shot of the team that, that lost. Show me the celebrations. I don't want to be focused on faces that are sad or overly emotional because of a situation that they feel responsible for. Those kinds of things for me, I'm not a fan of. Give me more positive stuff. Don't hang on the goat in a situation like that. If a particular athlete made a play that created the win for the other team, I don't want to focus on that shot with that guy on the bench. I don't want to focus on the anguish. I don't want to focus on those kinds of things. I don't want to focus on anguish after injuries. I don't want to focus on anguish after momentum shifts that create victories and go the other way. Show me all the positive stuff. Get me as far away from the anguish as possible. In an injury situation, if, Jarrett, to your point, if I'm in the truck and I go, holy ish, that's bad, I'm not going to be showing that. Or what I may do is dump out early. I may show the replay up to the point, and this would take some attention by the producer in the truck. It's like, okay, show me the play up to this point, and I'm going to tell you when to get out. I don't want the whole thing shown because you know how serious it is by looking at it in the truck. And I know that when it comes to producers, it is specifically a case-by-case basis. And I know that networks have certain mandates about, we're going to show everything, But I, over time, have become very, very squeamish about showing GOATs in situations, and not greatest of all times either, those responsible for actions that create wins going the other way. I've become very, very squeamish about that, squeamish about injuries, squeamish about the severity of it. And I guess it's probably my sensibilities because most of the time I'm with athletes that are from 14 to 22 on their birth certificate, So, like I said, that's just me. It is a personal choice. And literally at times it comes down to producer by producer basis as to what is going to be shown and what is not going to be shown in a situation like that. And, still photographers, Jarrett, they got the shot. They did, but that's not something I really want to see.
No, but it's important to get the shot. And you're going to get the shot in the moment because the people who are doing it are really good at their jobs. There's that too. Because a lot of times the people who get that shot are the people who are very good at what they do. So,
yeah,
it's still, man, it's still very it's still very weird because you're going to get that shot in the moment. There have been situations where somebody got the shot and they look at a replay, and then it isn't until you run that replay back we're like, oh, we need to not show that. And you might see them run that replay once, and then they ain't gonna run it again. Like I said, the internet's always gonna find the shot.
Yeah,
that part is for damn. They make damn sure the internet will find the shot. They will find the money shot because some people just want to see it. Some people juggle geese, man. It happens.
Yeah. And Parsival, the quote that you are looking for, Parsival goes, there's a phrase where I can't describe to you what's inappropriate, but I can tell you when I see it. That's Justice Potter Stewart at the Supreme Court in Jacob Ellis versus Ohio. And it's a pornography case. And he had the full quote from Justice Stewart: I shall not today attempt further to define the kinds of material I understand to be embraced within that shorthand description, and perhaps I could never succeed in intelligibly doing so, but I know it when I see it. So that's Justice Potter Stewart is your search for the day. That's the I know it when I see it when it came to pornography was what he was talking about. But yeah, seems as though the same may go for producing and handling bad injuries. Yeah, I mean, you know it when you see it, but there are producers, Parzival, who don't care. They want the shot. They want, because once again, you're talking network mandates. Each network is different. Each producer inside each network is different. Therefore, their sensibilities are different too. Go ahead, Jared.
It's not as much violence, but we do the same thing with, you talk about getting the goats. We do the same thing in terms of getting clips of, I can tell you that I got last time I did sideline camera for a game. We get a report card back from ESPN after we do a game, where they'll go over every position. They'll tell they'll point out things they liked, things they didn't like. I mean, I got really high marks for sitting there, not even filming the game, getting shots of this fan who was in absolute hell. Like they want that emotion for better or worse, and be that a fan, be that a player on the bench who is absolutely going through it. They want that because that's what's going to drive the content. That's what gets clipped, and that's what becomes content around the country.
Yep. And David, yes, the wide world of sports tagline in discussing the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Yeah. You can thank ABC from the 1970s for that particular approach. So as we go through, I know a lot of folks are discussing everything. And okay, so Burned. HBO TNT Telemundo needs to hire you and Jared as a producer. This was just so bad. If they want to hire me as an anchor, that'd be great. I'll take it.
You don't want me in the truck.
No, I don't want to be. I've spent time. I've spent time producing,
and I'm getting to the point now where I don't know if it's just the absolute wear and tear I put on my body through the years, and I just put me on one of the high cameras, like put me on the ISO. Fine there.
Yeah,
it's fine.
No more sidelines for you.
I mean, and some of the guys I know who do sidelines are artists with a camera in their hands.
Yeah.
I'm just, man. My body hurts too much to do that these days.
Well, and the thing is that, and those who are live event videographers, you are talking about guys who put in 8 to 10 hour days, regardless of the weather, and videographers in general, anyone who is outdoors for any kind of a television production. 8 to 10 hour days, because it is set up, it is faxing, meaning making sure that everything works. The event itself.
By the way, for a cameraman, faxing just means standing around doing nothing.
Yeah, it's like
because once you've set your back focus, once you've white balanced and black balanced, and once you set your back focus, and you're just standing around waiting for everyone to get their ish together.
Abby, it is the producer who ultimately decides which camera to go to. The director will the director and the producer sit next to each other in the production truck or in the control room, wherever they are. And it is constant communication between those two individuals. Hey, one sees something, the other may not. And the conversation between the two of them is somewhat symbiotic, where it's like, okay, I have this. The producer looks at this bank of monitors, sees the shots, and says, okay, camera 3, camera 6, they've got it. And so then and then replay will have figured something out, and they'll have the shot previously. And so it'll be a combination of calling cameras and calling for replays that are queued up once again in larger monitors away from the bank of monitors that you have with all of your cameras. So it could be some kind of a combination of, high cam to low cam. So let's say, camera 2 to camera 7, and then replay red, replay blue. And you have different angles of whatever the action is. So it is a constant conversation from producer and director. Producer is the one who's looking at what he wants to see. Director is in order of what the producer wants to see, going camera, replay, and then back out the camera. It's And like I said, Abby, I think it is different for it is different for networks. It is different by producers. It is different for mandates, and it's also by the league. You'll remember the scary incident that happened with Damar Hamlin, and on Monday Night Football, ESPN would show the replay of the hit, but then they would dump out after they understood the severity of what was going on. And while he was being treated on the field, they went to a wide shot. After they understood the severity of it, they went from the close-up in the pile and all the medical personnel, when they realized the severity of it, they went out to a wide, because that's stuff you don't need to see. That is a producer / director / creative decision. That is, folks don't need to see this. This is bad. We're bailing out to a wide shot. And if you've got ants in the middle of your screen, you got ants. That's it. Don't care. So I think that in that incident, it was handled about as well as it possibly could have been handled once you understood the severity of what was going on. And so that is folks who've worked together for a long time, who understand the severity of an injury and understand what you should or shouldn't see and not be voyeuristic about it. So, like I said, it is literally case by case, producer and director by producer and director, and network mandate by network mandate. And it is all, Jared, it is all over the place. That's just the bottom line here. And it literally is a case by case basis.
It is. And it's, it's, the whole thing is tough to figure out because, you talk about, somebody's got to see it all happen because, you can't figure out that it's not worth showing unless somebody's getting a real damn good look at it.
Yes.
Ultimately, the biggest thing is just, dude, how much it sucks for Mallory Swanson because, look, she's been the best player with a U.S. shirt on for a bit now. And now she's going to miss the World Cup unless something really weird happens. I can't imagine what would have to happen for her to actually play meaningful minutes in that World Cup. And it really sucks because she's a player who, when she was a teenager, had a lot of expectation put upon her. Had some really good moments, kind of faded out a bit, dealt with injuries, wasn't a focal point like maybe people expected her to be in her early 20s with the national team. And then all of a sudden, she's not all of a sudden, but, she's able to stay healthy, find a rhythm, play really damn well. And man, someone once told me that fair is the place you take your pig to win a blue ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
But it certainly is not fair, if you want to call it that, because it just completely sucks for her.
Yeah. And, so that's absolutely where we are with that. How long are you with us this morning? How was vacation, by the way?
Vacation was fine. It was the problem with vacation is when you drive 10 hours back home in one day and then you don't want to drive again for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm with you for like 5 more minutes.
Okay. No, like I said, no, that's why I was asking, because when we usually get to this particular time, it's like, all right, when does he dump? When is he out? All these kinds of things.
Whether it's an Irish goodbye or a proper goodbye.
Yes.
It's also I'd like to celebrate my my large adult son, Yorgos Yakimakis, No, we're not talking about Scotland. And we're not doing that.
No. I was going to specifically talk about Yakimakis and how he's continuing to be the presence that we anticipated.
Yorgos Yakimakis has done everything you could have asked him to do, and striker for this team, man. Like he's worked hard. He's got 3 goals and 3 starts now. If he continues that, he'll be in good shape. As someone pointed out to me though as well. I don't know, and this is one for Bart. Potentially, we'll see how much Bart wants to suffer. I think some of that's just going to depend on how much Bart wants to suffer this week. The goal that wasn't counted, because I know everybody is broodering the offside with Derek Etienne Jr. and it's tough because that offside is the camera's not straight on, so it's so hard to tell. if he was on or off. It looked a lot closer. I thought I thought it looked a lot closer than the broadcast made it out to be. I thought they no-sold how close it was because like when you look at the replay, I'm like, that he might be off. I think he might be off. That was not like off by, that wasn't like he was off by an extended period. If he was off, he was just barely off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a thing. That was very close, and I would have laughed immensely had had it counted, and especially if Atlanta had found another goal late. I would have laughed a full belly laugh because you went into Yankee Stadium and you made it fun.
Mm-hmm.
And now you know what? Now these were two games where I'm kind of like I'm just kind of like washing my hands of them immediately as soon as they happen because Red Bulls games are weird, especially for Atlanta United.
Yeah.
No one like you can only take so much away from playing in Yankee Stadium because it's so weird, because it's so cartoonish and not in a complimentary way.
Yep.
There's only so much I can take away from those matchups. You got 4 points out of them. I don't care how you did it.
Yep.
It's a good go. That's a good go about it. Now you have to immediately turn your attention to getting everyone healthy, making sure you're good. But yeah, man, that could have been so much worse.
Do you challenge the Ibarra red, or do you let
No.
it? Okay.
No, I'm not challenging it personally. Because like I said, it's one of those where I didn't like it when I saw it. The more I saw the replay, the more I was like, yeah, this is fine. It is by the letter of the law. It is a red card, and that's fine. Like it's you don't have to like it, but accept it as national poet laureate Macho Man Randy Savage once said.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to like it, but I'm not challenging it because I would change. I would save my challenges for something that might actually get overturned because I don't think that will. Yeah, it's fine. Like you're gonna have to have Santiago Sosa most likely play that role. I don't know if how many minutes Ozzie Alonso can give you coming off of his knee. It seems like his recovery's been slower, which is to be expected. He's not a spring chicken anymore. It might take his body a little bit longer to rebound.
Right, and we don't have a timetable on Ozzie Alonso yet. It's probably going to be some combination of Sosa Sadic. We'll keep an eye on that as we go here this week, getting ready for Toronto, who really can't score and they can't defend. And last time I checked, that's really not a good combination of things. Going through the top of the conversations this morning and what was on everybody's mind, Bam, before he goes to bed, wants to remind us that Denny Bouanga is probably MVP.
Right now, yeah. Yeah, I mean, holy hell.
Yeah, and that's what beat me in the fantasy league this week was a captaining of Denny Bouanga and a hat trick.
Well, that's the thing is, and this is why, like, you find that balance between actual productivity versus the metrics, because I believe Matt Doyle's piece touched on it, and you go look at what he was doing last year. Mm-hmm. He's getting in good spots, just wasn't finishing. Yeah. Now he's finishing. And he's finishing some. There are a couple of goals the other day. A couple of those were lower percentage. And he got them done.
That's one way to put it. Yes.
But it answers the question that Nico and I talked about before the season when he did one of his coffee visits. Is I wondered who was going to score the goals consistently for LAFC. We weren't sure if he was going to be a guy who could consistently score. Well, he sure as hell looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
So that part of the equation seems to be taken care of. Also, the West is weird this year, man.
Yeah.
Like the West feels like a very real split between teams that are really good and teams that are not very good at all.
No.
And then you got a couple in there in the middle. Like Houston might not be bad, y'all. Like, Ben Olsen might have something going on in Houston. Whether or not you consider that because they did it against an LA Galaxy team that is at this point a legitimate laugher. Jesus H. Christ. The Galaxy are a hot mess.
Uh-huh.
But Houston might have some here. But like the West just feels like it's like haves and have-nots. I still don't know what to make of Montreal, of Minnesota.
Oh, well,
Minnesota. No, I know what to make of Montreal. Montreal's a mess. Montreal lost a lot of bodies last year, not the least of which was Alistair Johnson, who put on a man-of-the-match performance in the Old Firm yesterday. He had a really good game.
You're enjoying that one, aren't you?
I enjoyed that thoroughly, mostly because I enjoyed seeing Chris Boyd get on TV with a straight face and say that James Tavernier is the best dead ball set piece striker he's seen come through Scotland.
Good Lord.
As if Shinsuke Nakamura didn't exist.
God.
But
child, please.
But yeah, man, like Montreal brought in Lasada. And that team is a shell of what it was last year when it comes to the tie-in talent. That top flight, top end talent is gonna be what's that separator, and it ain't there right now. Minnesota's a different animal, though, man. Like Minnesota's been getting by, and Minnesota's defense was amazing. Like, they've been carrying them.
No Bebe Reynoso, and they're getting done what they're doing.
Well, until this week, they picked up their first loss this week. They lost 2-1 to Chicago. Their one goal came on a howler. It's a really nicely struck free kick. It's right at the keeper. It's the second one he's done this year, and he's young. I mean, he'll be fine. But it hits him square in the hands, bounces right off his hands, goes in. not one you want to give up, but other than that, Chicago just kind of pinned them in.
And Chicago will be hanging out with Atlanta United in a couple of weeks here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So
Bam, I'm not nearly as pessimistic about a Galaxy LAFC game as you are, because the Galaxy are so bad right now.
Yeah,
and they're the infighting and just it's like watching a bad slap boxing match in the team locker room when you're in high school. It's not good.
No.
It's not enjoyable.
No. And I mean, Chicharito finally did come out and give a couple of minutes in the set. I think he get 25 in the second half.
I as an Atlanta sports fan, I understand your guarded nature about this.
Yes.
I completely understand it. I do not agree with it. I think you'll be fine. I think LA Galaxy. I think if LAFC dropped, I think if LFC outright loses that game to the Galaxy, that's not great. It should probably be one of the more disappointing losses for them in the last few years, because this Galaxy team has a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Vaney is just sitting there in the full "I've made a terrible mistake" meme. I don't, man. It's anytime you're feeling bad about Atlanta, like over the past 2 years, you were never the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the Galaxy were like barely limping their way into the playoffs, all of the signs were still there that it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that like this thing was being held together with baling wire and bubble gum.
Yes.
And, man.
Chewing gum and glue, brother.
Yeah, it was bad.
Mm-hmm. Nix says that the weekend was an ish weekend for him. He's resigned himself to Leicester going down, and one of our few shining stars for the U.S. destroys her knee. Sad, pew, pew, pew. Leicester right now thought it was going to be Jesse Marsch.
Thank God it's not. And it's not. Not a hatred of Jesse Marsch. It felt like you were setting Jesse Marsch up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a. Oh, bam! You'll be fine. It's just you'll be fine. Rotate against Vancouver. Who cares? It's a 3-0 lead. Jesse, it feels like it's like Brendan Rodgers and Jesse Marsch aren't exactly on the same wavelength philosophically.
Yeah.
It just felt like the whole thing of like, we're going to bring in Jesse Marsch. Like, okay, well, why are you going to set the man up for failure like that? But are you going to ask him in the middle of like April? Like, it's almost tax day, y'all. You're going to ask the man to install his like hyper press between now and decision day? Keep you up?
Yeah.
No, man. Like, tell Jesse, and it sounds like Jesse's not going to take it. Thank God.
No. Right now, it looks like, depending on who you are getting your sourcing from, could be Dean Smith, the former manager at Norwich, or it could be Rafa Benitez coming in. So that's right now that's how wide the berth is when it comes to trying to figure out, okay, who could it be? Hearing Rafa Benitez, hearing Dean Smith, those are the leading contenders. They're the number one contender, depending on who you trust.
And see, I agree with Bart. Jesse needs to wait to get hired in the summer. Yeah. Don't go to a relegation-bound team and attract the blame of relegation. I agree completely. That's one of my things. It feels like it's setting him up for failure. He'd actually be fine for Leicester in the championship. I mean, yeah, like if you give him, the freedom to rebuild that team to play his style, go for it.
Yep.
Go wild, man. Nobody's gonna feel bad. Nobody's gonna feel bad about that. So go ahead and do that. But yeah, don't take this job right now just so you can be their scapegoat for relegation. And then we're gonna get another complaint about American managers.
Yeah, we already get that with the firing of Jesse Marsch. You're already getting your about the American manager. You got it.
Jesse can't go to Celtic. If for no other reason, you can't play that style in Scotland. Too many teams don't want the ball, and Jesse wants to press you. And too many teams in Scotland don't actually want to play with the ball. You cannot press a team efficiently that does not want the ball.
Yes. So
let Jesse go back to. We'll let Byrne figure out. Let Jesse go back to Germany or something, or come back to MLS.
I mean, that would be, or
hey man, Montreal spot's going to be open soon. Yeah. Galaxy spot might be open soon.
Yeah. Jesse will not have. I don't think Jesse will be at a shortage for jobs and or job openings. I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Maybe the Philly spot will be open soon, not because they'll fire Jim Curtin, because Jim Curtin, and I get it. Philadelphia has not had a good start to life in 2023. They're also, but they did. You know what though? They're doing exactly what I would do if I were them, which is they are absolutely like getting hay in.
I mean, you're
in CONCACAF Champions League.
You're still alive in Champions League, and that's where you need to go.
You got a really weird win, but guess what, man? All that matters is you got the damn win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got a really weird win over the weekend. Who cares if you lost 1-0 to Cincinnati? That's basically like your little brother. Who gives a damn, man?
Yeah.
You're still alive in Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Yep.
Philadelphia's going to be okay. Like, yeah, wait for like Jim Curtin to like go to Europe or something. I think he's actually out of contract this year too.
Yeah. He's out of after this season. He's out of contract.
Jesse Marsch take over Philadelphia and make that rivalry just absolutely magical.
Rich Ransom, what do you think about Jesse Marsch and Philadelphia? That would be the interesting. And Bam, to your earlier question, it's what they have started doing with the MLS and MLS Next Pro, and we saw it last night, where on road matches, you're getting these back-to-backers with the same club. We had it last week with Red Bull and Red Bull 2 playing in Atlanta, where Saturday you had the first team play, and then you had some first team guys with the second team playing Sunday for Red Bull 2 against Atlanta United 2. Drew Yearwood was a part of that discussion last week, and you had it with Atlanta United playing last night, going up against NYCFC 2. You had Machop Chol and Tyler Wolf, who were part of the roster last night. So you're seeing that kind of carryover where you'll see some guys who didn't get first team minutes or didn't get a lot of first team minutes that you want to see try and dominate on the level of MLS Next Pro. You are seeing that when it comes to travel and teams. So, yeah, that is something that you will be seeing a lot of, hopefully. And it also saves you money. I mean, it's a great idea to do these back-to-backers where you're in the same market and your first team and your second team are playing on back-to-back days. So that way you're not holding folks back and trying to figure out how to navigate. So, no, it's you're seeing that right now in MLS Next Pro. And I think that's very, very – I think that was very, very smart by the league to run the back-to-backers like that. Let's see. Folks are talking about fines. They're talking about Brad. To your point, Jarrett, Sporting. Nick says that Sporting and Portland are in trouble also in the West. So, Sporting. Maybe, Nick?
Sorry, I'm looking at Burns' thing. Jesse won't be successful in Germany's like defensive structure, gets exploited by teams that counter well. Salzburg, very unique construct. Needs to come back to MLS. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Yeah. Who else was it? Oh, Ricky said U.S. jobs currently open. Hey, do the Jesse Marsh, Jim Curtin thing that they talked about doing. Just do that.
There you go.
Let's get weird.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
I endorse getting as weird as humanly possible.
Yeah. Nick's Portland to me still has too many injuries. So right now the report card for me is an incomplete. I want everybody back at full song before I can sit here and say that Gio's in trouble. Sporting might be an entirely different matter, but once again, if you ain't scoring and your defense is getting old,
it is all of that, man. Like, yeah, Sporting just ain't. That's the thing. Sporting ain't scoring. It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's very bad.
Yeah. Bam wants to know and the LA Galaxy memes continuing. Bam wanted to know how many weeks Caceres should get. Should be 3. Was it 1 for the red and 2 for being an idiot for pulling off his shirt after he scores a goal?
Yeah, we could do that. I'm good with that.
Why? I mean, we saw it. We admittedly saw it last year with the 2s.
We saw it with Jackson Conway.
Jacko did it. And he knew it the second he did it, too.
Yep. That was the best part. Jackson Conway did it. And you see him take his shirt off and immediately go, oh, God, what have I done?
And you see him trying to race to put his shirt back on quickly because he understood what happened.
Yes. He absolutely understood what he was doing.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yes. So, yeah, it's just Will, pro is a bad joke with a crap punchline. Getting back into our officials discussion from hour number 1. Yeah, I mean, it's just it was a no good, very bad week for pro weekend, and you wonder if pro is going to issue any oopsies later in the week.
More importantly, I want to know if pro is actually going to say it publicly because
they're good at the news dump.
They are really good at the news dump, and Darren Eales more than once basically put them on blast on radio, where or more than once Darren Eales was like, "Yeah, man, we heard from pro. They basically admitted they got stuff wrong."
Yeah. And the other thing that we haven't gotten into in MLS this morning is San Jose and Red Bulls. And it is something that we need to get into.
I know.
And
racism down here.
Yeah, but I give Jeremy Ebobisse a boatload of credit for how he handled it. He answered questions for 9 minutes and was level-headed and was very, very logical in his approach. He didn't lose his mind. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He didn't rant and rave. He answered questions for 9 minutes and from all accounts was incredibly thoughtful.
Oh, the look on his face, though, when the moment that it allegedly happens, the look on his face, though, was not one of peace.
No,
he looked like he was ready to go in that moment.
Yeah, and that's that's what you're staring at right now. But for those that may have missed it, MLS is going to open an investigation after Jeremy Ebobisse said a Red Bulls player made a racist remark during the second half of the game that nearly caused the team to walk off the field. Ebobisse did not reveal the name of the player, but the incident allegedly occurred in the 54th minute of the draw. Ebobisse said San Jose continued to play because the player who made the remark said it wasn't directed toward anyone in particular. Ebobisse, quote, What is important for me to share is that I know what I heard and the reason why I felt after a lengthy conversation we should continue with the game is because the player who said the word claimed it was not aimed at any of us. The incident prompted, and I know that for those of you that might have been watching the Atlanta United match, you end up with
21 minutes.
21 minutes on the board, and everybody is going, what in the blue hell happened there? This is what happened.
It was so much fun, too, because it went from being a potentially, oh, man, this is MLS as hell, 21 minutes of stoppage time. This is amazing. This is just MLS, to being like, oh, this isn't fun.
No.
This is not the fun kind of 21 minutes.
No. MLS came out with a statement. MLS is aware of an incident wherein a New York Red Bulls player is alleged to have used language that violates league policy during the 54th minute of Red Bull San Jose. Zero tolerance for abusive and offensive language, and takes these allegations seriously. An investigation into the matter will begin promptly. Further information will be provided upon completion of the investigation. Abobasi's already made it clear, once again, this is from our friends at Reuters, that he is supportive of the investigation and doesn't want emotions to interfere with the facts of the incident. Abobasi quote, "It is important we dig out all of the facts. I want to be as open as possible here. There's a lot of uncertainty here. I want to respect what will hopefully be a robust investigation, a difficult situation. I'm grateful I was with my teammates. Whether that is a good faith comment or not, we shall see as the investigation goes on, but a difficult moment where players were put in charge, have to manage all sorts of emotions because the system is not robust enough," end quote. Red Bulls came out with a statement of their own. And Luchi Gonzalez said post-match that he was in full support of the players and literally said that if the players wanted to walk off the field for that 21 minutes, he was going to fully support them in that. Absolutely fully support them. It was also, according to Tom Bogert, Luchi Gonzalez confirms he told Red Bulls coach Gerhard Struber to substitute Dante Van Zier amid the investigation. Quote, "I was adamant to suggest that the player should not be on the field anymore," end quote. Van Zier stayed on the field. Once again, this is from Tom Bogert. Van Zier stayed on the field until the 87th minute. Play had resumed in the 72nd. Gonzalez was shown by the broadcast feed in conversation with Gerhard Struber numerous times during the stoppage, and it was at 65:10. Luchi Gonzalez tells Gerhard Struber that if it was his player, he'd sub him off, even if allegations weren't yet confirmed. Struber does not, and left Van Zier on the field. So that's what we're staring at. So early on, indications, and that's what they are, because Dante Van Zier has not been named publicly in this by either the league or either team. But the intimation is that it was Dante Van Zier who made the comment, and that conversations by Luchi Gonzalez to Gerhard Struber wanting to once again emphasize that, hey, you might want to take him off the field. That's what went down. Post-match, Luchi Gonzalez. "When I listen to my players in terms of what was said or not said, there are things that are unacceptable. It takes precedent over the game we play. We're going to support the players." So Luchi Gonzalez says that he told the players that if they chose not to continue playing the game during the stoppage, he would have supported them. It was their decision. Quote, "We will continue to support whatever the players decide moving forward." So that's where we are. Once again, Luchi Gonzalez. And I'll grab the sound and we'll probably run it tomorrow because it's out there. But yet we had another round of racism down here. And, you know, it's incredibly disappointing. Ricky, I appreciate what Jeremy Abobasi saying what he said. With that being said, he wasn't the main one I wanted to hear from. Sadly, when these situations happen, While we give the space for black athletes to speak, we need their teammates, specifically their white teammates, to also speak out just as strong in denouncing it. The only quotes I saw were from Abobasi and Lucci. So, and there are elements of when you're in a post-game situation, you can request to speak to players or more than one. And considering that San Jose was the road team, then you're dealing with you're with the West Coast folks that travel, and I'm not excusing. Trust me, before I break this down, I'm laying this out to where you're looking at the dynamic, and it goes once again to we don't know what we don't know. Late in a match, if you're not in the building where the match is being played, and Ricky, you are 100% correct. Before we move on, I would have liked to have heard from more folks, but it comes down to, was there a request to talk to more folks first and foremost? Because if you had folks, who were in the building, it's incumbent on them to ask for more individuals. Yes, you want to hear from Jeremy Abobasi. But in the building, were there any other media members who said, yeah, I want to hear from other folks? Were there folks in Northern California who wanted to hear from other folks? So the question, no, absolutely. Ricky, we're spot on here. So I think, to your point, Ricky, it's incumbent upon the media covering the event to make a request to ask for other individuals, looking at what happened and saying, okay, well, who was near Jeremy Abobasi here? Who is a team captain? Who can we hear from in addition to Jeremy Abobasi? And was the request made by the media to talk to other folks? And were those folks able to be tracked down in time? Because you're trying to catch a flight and you're trying to come back to the West Coast. So in today's edition of Racism Down Here, MLS is conducting an investigation. Yes, I would have loved to have heard from more San Jose folks. A, were they made available? B, was the request to have more folks made available made? And so that's what hopefully, now that they're back in Northern California, will we get that this week during press opportunities? That will be the carry-on in this. As San Jose is practicing this week, how will it be addressed? How deeply will it be addressed? And was the media that was covering the game for San Jose to get these San Jose perspectives, did they make the requests for individuals? And literally, could you have these individuals tracked down in time? Because I know you're trying to pack, you're trying to get to Newark, you're trying to get to a flight, you're trying to get home. But yes, you did want to talk to Jeremy Abobasi first and foremost. And the fact that we got what we got from Lucci was great. And like I said, what I will do is we'll keep an eye on this story this week. And what I would like to ask is that you guys keep me honest on this as well. Because busy week on a bunch of different fronts. And if I forget to pull the sound, actually, tell you what, here's what we're going to do. All right. All right. I have my homework sheets. So, writing it down. And those of you who are watching on Twitch live, you're seeing me do it. I'm writing down Abobasi and Lucci sound from Red Bulls. And keep an eye on it. If I could spell, keep an eye on San Jose this week. All right. So, those of you watching on Twitch, here we go. Wrote it down. Because if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget it. So we'll keep an eye on San Jose this week. And Ricky, you're spot on with your points. So what does Major League Soccer do? What does everybody do with this going forward? And I want to know what the amount of coverage is. Like I said, I'm going to be curious in this kind of a thing. Abby, whether directed at a player or not, unacceptable. Suspension 10 games. Let them know how seriously MLS takes it. Ricky, I'll definitely be following. Definitely want to see. I want to even see what comes out of Harrison, if anything. I'm sure it won't be a ton. That's fair, I guess, because it's their player and it's their investigation. But at the same time, and we've seen this before with other events, just normal coverage out of Red Bull, normal coverage out of Harrison. There isn't a whole lot to begin with on a game-by-game basis. Keep an eye on folks like Mark Fishkin, maybe. Daniel Feuerstein. Feuerstein's Fire and Mark Fishkin. Keep an eye on those two. Those would be the two off the top of my head up north, and we'll see what happens there. Abby, 10-game minimum. Yeah, I mean, that's legitimately for me. Something like this, you need to set an example. And Burns got an interesting point coming up. And that's the key here is you've got to set an example. What that example is, I think once again, the league is going to have to be in a place where, all right, we take this seriously. Here's what's going to happen. Abby says 10-game minimum could be more. Burns' gut feeling is that they will unceremoniously transfer him to Salzburg in the summer. He may never play in MLS again. Ricky, if you're not directing it at a player, then it would have to be all individuals that it applies to. That's weak. What did Sosa get? Sosa got 3, David, if memory serves. So, and then Abby wants to know if a team had followed protocol as to when a player joins a team post preseason, did they take the class about unacceptable sayings? And that's what we're staring at here. MLS has to make a stand and reinforce who they are as an organization. I think Red Bulls have to, if it is with the video evidence that is there, and like I said, we will piece this together and we'll talk about it more tomorrow as a part of what's going on. We'll piece it together with what we know. It is intimated. It has not been said publicly. But the conversations that were heard on the pitch, and actually this gives me a chance to go back and watch the match, is that it was Dante Van Zier from Red Bulls. So we do not know officially if it was Van Zier. It's intimated that it's been Dante Van Zier. So what does Van Zier get? And I give Luchi Gonzalez and the players from San Jose a boatload of credit. Luchi saying, hey, what? If they'd wanted to leave before stoppage time, wouldn't have blamed him. I'm with them. Yep. So you stand by your players. But I want to know where the league goes from here. I really do. And how long the investigation. Okay, so from the video, you can tell that's where the anger is being directed is at Van Zier. Okay. Tom, it shouldn't surprise you. Watching the wrap-up show. And one of the folks on the wrap-up show, and I'll watch the wrap-up show now too, because since you posted this, called Ibarra's challenge disgusting and cowardly. Well, yeah, it is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. Yeah, absolutely wrong. But once again, we have seen we've seen in these tackles that and that when it comes to what folks are seeing with Atlanta United, that their perceptions aren't necessarily colored fairly. So we'll see what happens there. But now you're going to have me. I'm going to end up watching the wrap up show, and it was and that's the thing. It was Sands comes in quickly. I mean, literally, and they had to slow it down to show you how Sands came into frame. And Sands comes into frame quickly. Ibarra, it is just the misfortune of going in to get the ball the way he went in and got the ball. Wasn't reckless. He was locked into what he was doing. Sands comes in quickly. They both make contact with each other. I don't, and I think that the more that you look at it, I think that Ibarra probably deserves a red. Both went in for the challenge. And I think Sands deserved the yellow and Ibarra the red. So there you go. So, please clarify in the Twitch pitch so I know what's going on. Well, but I mean, it was studs up, David. I mean, and that's what we're staring at here. Sands gets an initial yellow, but the Ibarra was almost flush with the studs when he made contact with Sands. Yeah, it does sound like a take from Big Red, but or from the Red Rocker, but so we'll see. Yeah, no, it's yeah. But yeah, the harsh and reckless. No, not harsh and reckless. I think that those of us here, I think that those of us here get that it was called a red, but it was not a harsh and reckless challenge considering Sands went in just as fiercely. And it was just where Ibarra was when he made contact with the boot. So, no, I think we are all in agreement here when it comes to what we're staring at. Carol, thank you. Okay, so Bart with the clarification: careless, reckless, and serious foul play. Reckless by definition. Now, so add this to Wednesday. So it wasn't serious foul play. But was it careless or reckless? See, now this is what we might have to get into as a part of this. The delineation of careless, reckless, serious foul play, or was it serious foul play? Because when you look at each of those three phrases, you see those three phrases. There is the denotation that's attached to each. And it's not a connotation, it's a denotation, if I remember my English correctly. There's always this prepositioned idea of careless meaning one thing, reckless meaning one thing, and then serious foul play. So the whole denotations of careless, reckless, serious foul play, the emotion that's attached to each of those words, we have to go by the letter of the law here. So if it's reckless by definition, then legitimately when it has to be discussed in that manner, I would probably end up saying, thank you, Bart. Careless by definition, reckless by definition, excessive force, serious foul play by definition. So this is, this is what we're going to have to be reminded in these situations. Careless by definition, regular foul. And this is Bart. So Bart on the follow-up. Careless is a regular foul. Reckless, typically a yellow. Excessive force or serious foul play is usually a red. So then I would have if it's reckless by definition, it should have been a yellow, shouldn't it? Serious foul play, to me, then you sit there and go, okay, serious foul play, usually a red card. Even if it's unintentional, serious foul play, studs up, making contact with Sands, that to me, because once again, we say, oh, that was a careless foul. That was a careless foul. That was a reckless foul. There's always that emotion that's attached to it. So when we hear these words that are attached to fouls and cards, excessive force necessitates recklessness. Okay. But not necessarily being careless. I see how this works. But I think that we all get caught up in these words and the denotations that are attached. So we have to look at this. Bart, we might just have to go added time or a whole lot of stoppage time on Wednesday. That by definition equals X. So folks, don't get too wound up and locked into words, because once again, if we use them in text, yeah, most likely a red card, and you have a theory. My theory is Drew Fisher was all over the place. There's your theory. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I don't think that we're in any disagreement that it was most likely a red. But when you attach the words careless foul, there's always that emotion that's attached. That's a careless foul. You know, those kinds of things that we have to be wary of. So like I said, it's the emotion that's attached to the words themselves, even if the words themselves are directly related to the card and the veracity of the foul. Yeah. So there we go. So our theories align. Okay. That's good to know. So that's your tease for when Bart comes on Wednesday. All right, Burn, back to Red Bulls. And like I said, this is in race today's episode of Racism Down Here. You know, like I said, Red Bulls came out with a statement. And it was a couple of sentences, and it's what it's what you do. But once again, I give full credit to Luchi Gonzalez and Jeremy Abobasi for saying what they said in the post-match. Burned. With Red Bulls, it's important to remember that sport for them is a marketing exercise and expense. True. Because they are promoting drinks that one of us here at the network has on a regular basis. Not me. They will not want, once again, Burn continues, they will not want negative PR of that kind, in particular, over such an unimportant player like Van Zier. They may try to salvage some of his transfer fee by shipping him to another Red Bull club, or they may just get rid of him. Image is important to them in that context. And remember that Van Zier was picked up, I think he was I'm trying to get the numbers of when he was signed. Okay. February 23rd. Came from Union SG in Belgium. Schneider with the release. 70 goals, 157 appearances. Let's see. So maybe if I say transfer fee, maybe that's what we're staring at here. All right. So I'm trying to figure out the level of investment. $5.5 million reported. 5.4. Second division Golden Boot winner set to become club record signing for Red Bulls. 5.5 could balloon more with add-ons. So that's what you're staring at. 5.5 million plus possibly more in transfers. So that's the kind of money that you're staring at here involving Dante Van Zier. Now, Burn, once again, looking at it from the business perspective, you don't need that kind of negative publicity attached to your brand if it is Dante Van Zier. And I say this once again because the investigation, while the activity that we have seen has linked it to Dante Van Zier, and the video that we have seen has linked it to Dante Van Zier, the name has not been publicly announced as attached to any kind of investigation. So, like I said, that's why I'm saying it the way that I'm saying it. Linked to, not fully attached to. So that's where we are. Yeah, Chanot was not guilty of a kick out. Chanot standing over and goading. That's just something else entirely different. $5 million, right. Yeah, burned $5 million for Red Bull's football group is small money. They will prefer to avoid negative PR, regardless of cost, I would think. So, club record signing for Red Bull New York. And to Burns' point, you want nothing to affect your brand. So what you are going to do is try to minimize damage. If it is, in fact, whomever the individual was, that individual probably is going to be Bragantino, maybe someplace where he can be just kind of placed and put away. Let me see what the length of the deal is. DP spot, regular quote. Let's see. We have trying to see the length of MLS. Hang on, because there was a link to the deal that was attached. Through the 26th with an option for 27. So 3-year deal, option for a fourth. That seems standard. So what you're trying to do is figure out a way to hide Dante Von Zier, if it is in fact Dante Von Zier that will be described as the individual in kind. So we'll keep an eye on that. So that's where we are with that. We'll keep an eye on that, obviously, and see what's going on with all of the racism down here. Like I said, so we'll see what happens. Emilio, fan perception of managers. I think Phil Neville's a competent coach. Why do we not trash him with the statement English managers can't handle MLS? Because I don't think we were wired that way. I just don't think that we are wired with the notion that that you're just going to slam somebody. I think that the slamming of a coach here in the United States is a universal trait. If you're bad, you're bad. Doesn't matter where you're from. They're going to be the first people to sit there and go, no, he's just not a good coach. He's not a good manager. Doesn't matter. I think that here in the U.S., Emilio, there is a universality that's attached. And so we got that. Burned. I don't think Jesse will be successful in Germany. Lack of defensive structure gets exploited by teams that counter well. Salzburg is a very unique construct. Remember, he had Holland when he was there. He needs to come back to Major League Soccer. Abby, interesting question. Since we talked about the twos, Abby's having a really hard time getting twos tickets for an away game. The home team doesn't seem to have a link to purchase. I'm hoping it's the Hunt City match because we could probably figure that one out. Abby, what match is it? And by the way, the boss and I cannot wait for the chocolate matzo shipment. What match is it that you're having issues with to end a sentence in a preposition? What match? What away match are you having problems with? Because if it's Hunt City, we probably could figure it out, considering that we've had the front office on, we've had Jack on. And also, if it's Hunt City, we probably could go through Nashville. And maybe you have to go through Nashville SC, considering how they're tied to one another. Maybe it's that. But let me know what team you're looking at, and we could probably figure it out. So we'll figure it out. Yeah, David, Ted Lasso derailed Jesse Marsh's career. See, by Jim Curtin. Please stop it with that. Absolutely stop it with that. Yeah, and I mean that for Jim Curtin. You go back to Bob Bradley, and this is a point that we made on the show before, that when Bob Bradley was given the coaching gig at Swansea City, he was screwed. Absolutely screwed over. He was there, 34 days? Bob Bradley, Swansea City. I want to say it was 34 days. Less than 85 days. Sorry, less than 3 months. So 85 days, Bob Bradley sacked his Swansea manager. What happened there is a direct response from the American ownership group dealing in a construct of the pressure of the football pyramid in England. If anybody screwed over Jesse Marsh, it's Bob Bradley. And what I mean by that is this. Really, if you want to say who screwed Jesse Marsh, it was Jason Levian and the ownership group and what they did to Bob Bradley. Bob Bradley, and like I said, I will maintain this for as long as we're on the network. Bob Bradley was screwed by his ownership group. Bob Bradley was told that he would get a January window to fix things. Wasn't even given that. Like he made like transactions leading into the window and wasn't around for the window. The ownership group at Swansea City screwed over Bob Bradley. And what that did, even before Jesse Marsh and Leeds, is it gave this negative impression of American managers. But what folks fail to understand and or remember is that it was an American ownership group, led ownership group, that canned Bob Bradley. So if you've got a beef with anything involving an American manager, go to the next step. Go to the ownership group. Once again, who's in charge at Leeds? Rod Rosani and the 49ers. And they panicked. They panicked as well with Jesse Marsh. So you've had back-to-back American managers with American ownership groups who have panicked within the construct of the English football pyramid. And everybody's going to look at Bob Bradley and go, oh, Americans can't manage. Look at the owners. The owners panicked. Jason Levian and his ownership group panicked. Did not give Bob Bradley that January window to try to fix things. 85 days gone. Jesse Marsh, before, and once again, it was before the window started that you had an American ownership group dispose of an American manager. They panicked as well because the run of matches that after Jesse Marsh was sacked that they are in right now are against teams for the most part that are there with them trying to stave relegation. And losing 5-1 to Crystal Palace is something completely and totally uncharacteristic of Crystal Palace, actually, by scoring 5 goals. So you've had an American ownership group led panic and fire an American manager. You've had an American-led ownership group panic and fire an American manager. But the British pyramid football fan is going to sit there and say that American managers, can handle it. I would posit that the ownership groups panicking are making things worse for the American manager rather than Ted Lasso. And by the way, I finally get to see episode 4. So I'm caught up. Saw it last night after we got home from work. Not work, but from hanging out with the mother-in-law this weekend. Okay. So it is Inter Miami in May in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. Maybe there's a certain window. All right. So we'll keep an eye. Well, Abby, keep reminding me of this as we go when it comes to Inter Miami too. And so we'll keep an eye on this. So my position is that it's the American ownership groups, first and foremost, panicking that have made it bad for the American manager. It is not the American manager's situation that American managers cannot manage inside the British football pyramid. Leeds group panicked. Jesse Marsh, I think, with this run of matches, could have handled relegation far better than firing Marsh, bringing in Javi Gracia. Then we go from there. So the American ownership groups have made it difficult for the American manager. Ted Lasso has not made it difficult for the American manager. Jim Curtin needs to understand that. So, Rich, next time you see him, if you could relay that information to Jim Curtin, that would be great. Okay, so Inter Miami, and apparently Inter Miami games later than that are on sale. Interesting. Okay, Sunday after the Atlanta United match. Okay, so I'll see what we can find out. David, these narratives about players and U.S. managers are all dumb. If you can't adapt, you won't do well. Speaks for ownership groups as well. Every situation's different. Remember, there were plenty of pundits who thought Erling Haaland, but yeah, he'd be meh in the EPL. Yeah. And once again, those pundits played in the league. Obviously, Erling Haaland can't handle our style of play. Whatever. Burns, Steve Cherundolo could manage in England, maybe not the EPL yet, but easily in the championship. Yeah, Emilio. Yeah, Curtin actually did say that Ted Lasso. I'll see if I can find the quote because let me get the full quote so we can get the full Jim Curtin experience. Ted Lasso, Jim Curtin. All right. March the 2nd. Goal.com. I have to say I like it because he was asked about the show. I have to say I like it because if I say I hate it, I'm some elitist coach. No. See, and this is the other thing about Jim Curtin. It's not a show about soccer. It is a show, it is a workplace dramedy that just happens to have soccer as its focal point. It is not a show about soccer. It is a workplace dramedy that has soccer as its focal point. It is not a soccer show that turns into comedy and drama. No, it is a comedy drama that just happens to have soccer as its focal point. How many other shows have we had like this that had nothing to do with soccer? I love the humanness of it. I watched the whole first season. I give them credit for being at least close to capturing the feeling in the locker room. They get that there are people from different cultures, assholes, and there goes our explicit rating. Nice guys. There are wives who are annoying, who are problems. That's all real. He comes off as lovable. Do I think it's set back the American coach 20 years? Yes, I do. We worked so hard to get to Europe, and then Jesse kind of breaks in, and it's like what a curse to have that show break out at the same time he's there. See, he's not even referencing Bob Bradley in Swansea City. He has forgotten about Bob Bradley in Swansea City. Of course, 85 Days will do that. We worked so hard to get to Europe, and then Jesse kind of breaks in, and it's like what a curse to have that show break out at the same time he's here. You can feel it with him, meaning Jesse. He seems so angry at it, but to go back to my earlier point, if you show that, they'll chew you up. If you show that, they'll chew you up and spit you out. Jim Curtin is wrong. And he's not understanding the full context of the situation. Jim Curtin does not understand the context of the situation. And Rich, we can go, yeah, exactly, David. Thank you. Jim Curtin thinks The Office is about the paper supply chain. Prime example. So there you go. Yeah, that was Jim Curtin asked about Ted Lasso. Jim Curtin has it reversed. And Jim Curtin needs to understand that it's the American ownership groups with American managers that are panicking in these situations. They're 2 for 2. Yes, it does set up a bad precedent, but it also sets up a stereotype that Jim Curtin is feeding into by addressing it through the prism of a television show that is not a show about soccer. Jim Curtin is feeding into that stereotype. And that's disappointing. For someone who understands what the sport means to those who love it in each of the areas where they are, whether it is grassroots, whether it is high school, college, developmental, summer, what have you. You feed into those stereotypes by diving into the show and like David says, thinking that The Office is about a paper supply chain. So think it through. Yeah, David. Yeah, clearly it's not reality on Ted Lasso. The ownership might be competent in Ted Lasso. Yeah, Rebecca's in charge, taking her Premier League money and investing in Zava. But yeah, it's frustrating. You should know better and stop feeding into stereotypes. One thing I forgot to do before we do gossip, rumor, and innuendo. I'll see if I can do this for those watching live on Twitch. We had folks come in and clean Office HD while I was gone. So, of course, that means that you forget to reassemble your studio. And so assembling the studio took a little longer than I would have liked this morning. So now that I have found where I thought the Eliminize sign was, and I found it, so good for me. Traditionally at the hour mark, I will read a promo, but because we blew through it because of everything going on the planet, I forgot to read the promo. So let's go ahead and read the promo. Water-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. Into hour number 2. It's Eliminize service. Eliminize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever, and we like that. Different than Febreze or other masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard, take out that masking agent and spray it in the air. We're masking the odor. We're not attacking the problem like our friends at Eliminize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, and this is where I grab my pen, go to the website. Once again, QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Website's eliminize.com, but your homework assignment is go /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world that you are requesting their services from to help with their problems, period. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta. Eliminize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH at the end of hour number 2. Busy week this week. Later today, you get the MLS Week in Review show. That's going to be popping up this week. You will have USL Championship League One Prem and Proper coming out in the midweek. We've got the high school game of the week coming up. Still too early to determine venue and matchup, but we should be back with the playoffs going on. We will be around with the high school game of the week and try to put In Session back up online. And by the time we're done, Wednesday will be Bart Keeler. So Bart's got his homework assignment from this morning, a lot of stuff to talk about. Dylan Butler, if he is not hip deep in high school playoffs, hanging out with us on Wednesday as well. Nico Moreno on Thursday or Friday. And Thursday and Friday, we will get you ready for Toronto and the road trip to Toronto. Jason's availability might be interesting on Friday, considering that he would have to catch a plane and go through customs. Jason's availability on Friday might be interesting. Obviously, we'll keep you posted on that as we go. And the Twos are back home this weekend on Sunday. So we'll keep an eye on all of that stuff. But it is high school. It is getting ready for Atlanta United and Toronto, and it is getting ready for the Twos and their home match this weekend. So very, 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 very busy week on a bunch of different fronts. And I wanted to thank each and every one of you for putting up with us on Monday. So let me do gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and if there's anything going on the television today. So we got that. And obviously, Bart will talk about Mallory Swanson's tearing the patella tendon. We'll get into that as well. So very, very busy Wednesday for Bart. decent day when it comes to what's going on TV. BN and BN Espanyol have Faith Karagumruk and Fenerbahce at 1:30. Deportes has Barca and Girona at 3. Gold TV has the Ecuadorian League at 8 with Barcelona and Cumbaya. Big day in the championship. Congratulations to Burnley and Vincent Kompany for getting the promotion spot, setting a record with 7 matches to go. They've only lost twice all year. 5 matches going on, and one is already completed with Huddersfield Town and Blackburn. You've got 2 matches going on right now, one at 12:30, one at 3. Barca Girona is also on the plus, as well as Alaves and Andorra. Fox Soccer Plus is Serie B all day. The first 2 matches are in the books. Palermo and Cosenza is at 2:30, and Revolution 2, Philadelphia Union 2 in MLS Next Pro on MLSNextPro.com is on at 1 o'clock. And gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go. And that is here. And once again, thanks to everybody. It was a busy day on a bunch of different fronts. Refereeing down here, which we really didn't get into, involving Jordan Henderson. And so that'll be a topic tomorrow. So keep an eye on that and everything else going on. AC Milan have added Balogun to their list of summer targets, although they expect Arsenal to ask for more than $30 million for the 21-year-old. Spurs have registered interest in signing Hakim Ziyech from Chelsea. Manchester United keeping tabs on Celta Vigo's Gabri Vega before a summer move. Manchester United have also put Moises Caicedo and Alexis on their transfer shortlist. Karim Benzema wants to stay at Real Madrid for at least one more season after turning down an offer from Saudi Arabia. Chelsea and Liverpool set to target 26-year-old Italy midfielder Nicolo Barella, with Inter prepared to sell him for £44 million. United have also had positive talks with Monaco over the signing of defender Axel Disasi. Manchester United could turn their attention towards signing Bayern's Benjamin Pavard if Bayern beats United to the signing of Jeremy Frimpong this summer. David Raya will not sign a new deal at Brentford, who are set to ask for more than 40 million euro, 35 million pounds to sell in this summer. That's according to our friend Fabrizio Romano. Philippe Coutinho exploring options for a Villa exit with his return to Inter Milan possible. Everton have yet to make a decision on the long-term future of Connor Cody, who's on loan from Wolves. Bologna competing with Leicester to sign Birmingham City's midfielder Jordan James. That's from the 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Adrian Rabiot says he's still waiting to discuss a new contract with Juve. Current deal set to expire in the summer. That's from our friend Fabrizio Romano. Borussia Dortmund's Marco Reus, whose contract expires in the summer, set to sign a new deal for next season despite having to take a pay cut. That's from our friends at Build. And Xavi wants Sergio Busquets to stay for at least one more year before joining an MLS club. That is your gossip, rumor, and innuendo and things left unsaid today. So there's a lot of thank you, Abby. Customs incoming and outgoing. So then the customs going into the country when you go into Pearson, it takes a while. Customs going into the country takes a while. Notts County currently up at 1-0 at Wrexham at half. National League. That's big because that one is crazy. Match in hand, and let me see if I can get the. But yes, the customs going into Pearson is a pain. I've done it. It's not fun. So right now, with the lead at 1-0, everybody looks like everybody in the National League is playing. But right now, as things stand, Wrexham with the match in hand is going into today was even on points. So Notts County, having played 42 matches, and it is 4 matches to go for them. 4 matches to go, 5 for Wrexham. Even on points going into today, if you're Wrexham, you really want to draw, so that way you can keep pace. Goal difference is better to Notts County by 3 going into today. Now it is 4 with the current score. But literally, Notts County and Wrexham are 1-2 in the National League. Then it is a 25-point drop to number 3, Woking. So we'll keep an eye on that. Yes, or shopping is a pleasure. No question, Abby. So, yeah, Ricky wants Coutinho to stay for the European run that they're trying to get to. But, yeah, Customs is a mess at Pearson. So that's where we are. And so thanks for talking about Jeremy Abobasi. Thanks for talking about Atlanta United. We'll talk about all this stuff again tomorrow. We got more stuff to talk about tomorrow, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to pose a question to you tomorrow as well. It has to do with our Friday content and the Friday show. So keep an eye on that. I probably should do this at the beginning of the show on Tuesday as well. So it'll be a question of the floor, and we'll talk it through. So go enjoy the rest of your day. May it be quiet, considering for the rest of the world, it is very, very quiet, apparently. It's going to be a day watching soccer. But we'll be back at it again tomorrow. Very busy day across the network, very busy day across what's going on with a bunch of different things. And we'll be back at it at 9:05. Thanks to Jarrett for hanging out. Thanks to you for hanging out. And once again, thanks for sorting through all the issues of the sport like we always do. That's what we're here for. For Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. Played safe, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us here for another go-round and another week of Soccer's Morning Show at Soccer Down Here. Since it is the end of the show, that means that I get to do this. Mucha Plati, all played safe, and we'll see you again in the morning, 9:05.